Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Elzy. Welcome back. Today's video, I have gotten rid of the face cam because it obstructs quite a lot of the detail that I'm going to be giving to you guys on this DPS build. So, as I've given it away already, today we're going to be going over my DPS build for my Oathbound Paladin. So, basically, this is what I call a selfish DPS. This is purely for me and for running like the solo content, getting through the questing or the campaigns and all sorts, getting through Chult easily on my own solo and everything like that. So this is the build that I think you guys should follow yourselves and try to get as much as you can as possible or close as possible to this for that area. Because we got loadouts now, I'll quickly show you. I've got the three loadouts I have, which is the pure DPS, which is like solo, as I say, through the content of the quests. Then I have my healer in for when the healers are not the best and we've got a GF in there. And then also my original protection build, which is the build I love to use the most out of them all and have the most fun with. And so this is a mixture, so this has got some buffs in there and all sorts of other things around that, as well as some good DPS in there, but it also helps out and supports the team as a group. So this is when I'm using it for streams and things like that. Anyway, so we're going to get into today's video and we're going to have a quick look at the gear itself. So I'm using the Geis or Gaze of the Wolf clan, and this gives you 2,000 power when you're in a party. When not in a party, 2,000 defense. So a brilliant piece of headgear, and personally I think it's the best headgear that you can get at the minute. The primal headgear, I can't remember what it gives you, but in my personal opinion it's not as good. It's along the lines of the chest, which is what we're about to have a look at, which is the primal ward chest piece, which when you equip, you deal or heal your target for more than 15% of your maximum hit points in a single blow. You gain 1% defense. So it's a very nice stat to have in here, seeing as we're probably going to see a lot of radiance in our defensive slots and also offensives. So mainly we're not going to have that much defense, or shouldn't have anyway in the end game. Then we move to the arms. At the minute, I've just got the Huntsman Restoration Quarters, but I definitely 100% want to go for the Primal Arms. They are the best things you can have at the minute. They give you 1% extra power once you do the same, which is the 15% damage or heal in a single hit. Then we have the main hand or offhand. I've got the Oathkeeper's Mace and the Oathkeeper's Shield. So these, of course, are from Storm King's Thunder. These are pretty hard to get. I really like them. If you're able to get these, go for them. If you're not, try and go for the guild one, which is the Titan Steel Mace and Shield if you can. They're pretty good if you're, especially if you're running with guild members a lot, go for those. Or if you haven't, go for the Fey main hand and offhand, which you get from the River District. So they are really nice as well. Then the feat, I've got the Huntsman Restoration. Again, I want to probably go for the Primal feat. They are very nice as well. Then we go over to the neck. We have Behemoth's Infernal Talisman. And then we have the Ring of Rising Defense and Ring of Brutality. So these, again, end game, I want to swap these out to have the red legendary Ring of Dodd, so I can get the power off of them. They're going to be really nice. 2 slots and you get 4 offensive, which again will stack with power. And then we have the waist, which is Demogorgon Girdle of Might, and then the Greater Everfrost Chaincoat and the Greater Everfrost Chassis. So these again are okay. In the next mod we're going to get a shirt and pants, so probably looking at swapping them out as well. So they're quite nice. Then the artifacts, I've gone with the Eye of the Giant, which gives us 2,000 maximum hit points, power, crit, armor pen, defense. So again, it's a nice, very rounded artifact to go with, and also once you use it for 12 seconds, your power and damage resistance is increased by 5% and your sides and speed by 25%. Then it says for each enemy that you have in combat, you gain an additional 1% power, 3% damage resistance, and it says 10% size up to 5 enemies. So the size and the speed is not a big thing, but the power and damage resistance are really nice additions to our arsenal in there as well. And then we of course have the Shard of the Orcus, which goes very nicely with the talisman and the belt. Then we have the Sigil of the Oathbound Paladin, which is 4,000 hit points, 1,000 power, AoE resist. Sorry, I missed the equip bonuses. So you get power, which is brilliant. The movement, it's nice. And the AoE resist, which is again okay. and then we have the Sigil of the Great Weapons Fighter. I used this a long time ago, and now I've gotten rid of the Sigil of Devotion because that gave me power, defense, and one other, which I cannot remember now. I think it might have been incoming healing, but now I've changed it to give me maximum hit points, power, and armor pen, because armor pen has played a nice piece in the new mod with damage. So now what we're going to do is go have a quicker look at my stats. So sat here at rest, we've got about 44,000 power, and 9,000 crit, 4,000 armor pen, and just over 2,000 recovery, along with 11,000 defense. That's nice, to be honest, and it's probably going to go further down once I change some of my enchants and radiance and things like that around. But anyway, it moves around, between about 39,000 power and about 44. So anywhere, this is the highest I've seen it standing at the minute right now. Quickly to go over the gear, I missed the slot things. So I've got the defense slot. I have Azure rank 12, which I want to swap for Radiance. So pretty much everywhere on this board here, which are all offensive and defensive, you end game want to go for Radiance as high as you can possible, and I'll show you why later on. But the ones I've got here, I have the Transcendent Lightning as my main hand, Radiant 12, Radiant 11, and they are both offensive slots. And in here we have the Shadow Clad Transcendent. Some people would say go less than Transcendent, which is fine. It's totally fine. But my deflect on my normal build is quite nice, so I like to have this because of the extra damage resistance and deflect it gives you. And then, as I say, we try our best to try and get Radiance in everywhere, but unfortunately I haven't got to that stage yet. So I have got some Silveries in places that I don't like, and I have also Darks in some of the offensive slots as well, I think, somewhere. Yeah, I've got defensive, I have Azure there, and then I can't remember where it is now. I think maybe the shirt and the pants, I've got them. Yeah, there we go. So we've got a Dark in there as well, and a Radiant in there. So that's basically the character sheet of what you want to try and do. And I'll explain why we want Radiance in it everywhere later on. Now we're going to have a look at the general power page. So we got the Draconic Heritage as the race, So power is great for the Dragonborn Fury. Your power and critical chance reach 3% higher than that of other races. Draconic Heritage, you receive 5% more healing from all spells and sources. Brilliant for survivability, and also great for the power later on that we need. Then we go into combat. So what I like to use mainly for running around and soloing everything, I use Radiant Strike. Your armor pen and damage are increased by 5% for 15 seconds. It does not stack, but it's a very nice boost. And then for the other at will, I use Shielding Strike. So this is the fastest attack you can get out at the minute right now as the Oathbound Paladin for your at wills. So we're going to be using this. Again, it increases the damage. The shield seems to be a little bit odd. There's no shield that covers your health, but whether it's there inadvertently that you can't see it, we'll have to see. I'm not sure. I've tried asking people about it, but not many people know either. So then we go to our at will. So I use Burning Light as my main, like the most DPS attack that I have. It's very quick. You receive 100% more healing while emitting light, so it's brilliant at giving yourself extra heals as well. Then we have Sacred Weapon, which stacks insanely with my last one, which is Relentless Avenger. So this is brilliant. So this counts as like an AoE attack. You charge into an enemy and you hit a single target, knocking back everybody as well. And with the protection build, all targets are taunted. So I will note very quickly that I keep saying all the protection stuff. That is the Paragon path that we are picking. So we're going for protection build on this one. Then we go to look at the daily powers. So we have Shield of Faith, which I use very muchly when I'm using in dungeons and things like that. But then for the DPS side of it, we still, of course, are going to go with Divine Judgment. It does, for me, between 61,000 and 74,000 damage, but it has a blast. So if you get other people in that, they will do pretty much the same amount of damage. I've seen some variations. I've seen sometimes other people get hit harder than my main target, which is pretty insane. I don't know why that happens, but hey, nevertheless, sometimes that does happen. Then for our personal feats, we're going to go with Aura of Courage. So you and your allies within 30 of you deal 1% of your maximum hit points as bonus radiant damage. So brilliant. The more hit points we have, the better this effect is going to have on our allies and ourselves. Then we look at our next one, which is Aura of Wisdom. So this is brilliant in my opinion. Aura of Vengeance was good, but this is brilliant for the DPS to help buff your entire group. So you and allies within 30 of you gain 10% increased recharge speed, and every rank adds 5%. So in total, you can have a total of 25% recharge speed with just this feat power, and it includes you and all the allies in 30. So it's amazing in every single situation you're in. It gives everybody big cooldowns and everything, especially things like for us, which is Circle of Power, which I will look at later on. That is a very, very big one. That takes a long while to cool down, but this helps massively. Then the next thing we're going to be looking at is the feats. So we go over to this page, and for this pure DPS build, I have not gone for toughness. The reason being because hit points is a very nice thing for us, but there are feats in there which we would like to go along further with them. So we go increase your critical chance by 3%. Yes, please. 100% we want that. Why not? Then activating Divine Call now generates 5% of your max AP. 100% we want that. Get as much AP back as possible. Remember, at the minute, my Divine Judgment is doing 60 to 70,000 damage. So, of course, I want that back as quick as possible. I can be using that out loads. I can be using that so much. Then we go with Exemplar's Haste. Your encounter powers recharge 6% faster. Again, we're building this big cycle of recovery and recharge speed. Every time I do a build, that is the biggest thing that I note upon, is that recharge speed for a paladin is a massive thing. People used to say stack recovery, stack recovery. No way. I'm at 2,000 and I am totally fine with what I have. I hardly ever use my at-wills, and it gives me enough time to use Radiant and a couple of shielding strikes, but that is basically all that I use, and then I'm repeat my cycle of encounter powers. Wrathful Strikes, your at-will powers deal 6% more damage. So of course we're going to have that to push up the next tier, because why not? Extra damage in my at-wills, yes please. Then Impassioned Pleas, you generate Divine Call 6% faster. You'll see why Divine Call is a big piece in our build anyway, but of course we're already getting 5% extra AP off of it, so why not have faster cooldown on your Divine Call as well. Then for the last one, we're going to go with not Wisdom, because that is to do with healing, and not Fasted, because that is to do with health, and we don't particularly want health in this build. We're going to go with Force of Will. Each point of Charisma now increase your critical strike by an additional 1%. So I have a total of 20... Let's have a quick look, actually. Let's have a quick look. Where is it? Now you're testing me. Here we go. I have a total of 26 charisma, so that means off of that feat alone, I get an additional 26% critical hit chance. So that is doing wonders for us over here on the DPS side. Then what we're going to have a look at is we're going to go down the Justice path. I don't think I've seen a build which doesn't use a lot of Justice, to be quite honest anymore. Justice is pretty much the best Paragon path you can have for any build out there. Even as I've shown you guys with the Healadin, I picked Justice path for my Healadin as well, and I'll show you why. So the first one, you can either have whichever one you want. You can either have Swift Flash or you can have Bound by Light. They are pretty much null and void in each one, but they're situational, so they're quite nice. I personally went with Bound by Light because it increases your control strength. So Burning Light has a small control effect. It actually burns the eyes of the enemies, so it calms them down a little bit and stops them in their stead. Then Relentless Avenger, which has a small one as well, which does knockback, and also Templar's Wrath has another one as well, which we'll look at later on. Then for the next one, we went with Flash of Light. Your encounter powers have a 25% chance to reduce the cooldown of your nearby allies as well. So again, brilliant. Wonders, making wonders on that as well. So that is great. Why not have an additional reduction in cooldowns for the allies? Then we look at Radiant Champion. Your very presence inspires your allies. When you have at least 2 other allies within 30 of you, all you gain 25% more movement speed and 5% cooldown reduction. So this is brilliant. This Paragon Path here, this feat here is pretty much the best one to have for the dungeon. And let's be honest, when I do my dailies, this isn't going to be kicking in at all or hardly anything. But when I do use my DPS build in dungeons and things like that, when I'm doing my ETOS, my daily dungeons to get through them, I use this build because it does speed things along nicely. Because Stem the Tide, which is within no allies, how often does it have that no allies are near you? To be quite honest, it's very lacking. So you might as well take the Radiant to help your team out in a dungeon anyway. Then the next one we go for is Echoes of Light. Your at-will powers have a 10% chance to trigger Echo on you. Echo makes your next encounter power instantly recharge all of your encounter powers. So again, this is another big recovery, recharge speed boost, which everybody likes to have on their character. And then I personally have gone with Purifying Fire because it is my DPS one, and this is for questing. Purifying Fire is brilliant for this, which can stack on an enemy, giving you an additional damage buff as well. Some people like to go with Prism with their DPS build, but I'm not using this build in dungeons that much. I do it occasionally, but not that much. So Prism doesn't really come into help us that much. So I've sort of balanced it out. I've gone with one or the other. I've gone for Radiant Champion over Prism. You could do this one for your normal and then have Prism in there as well to help the group out again, but it's up to you on that one. That is entirely up to you. Then, of course, we go with Vengeful Judge. Your Divine Call now also applies Judge to yourself for 10 seconds. Judge increases your damage dealt by 35%, as well as reducing the cooldown on your currently recharging powers by 35%. Again, this is this big bundle of recharge speed. You're getting so many cooldowns so quickly. You're getting everything. I'll show you in a minute when I go up against the dummies next to me, and I'll show you how quickly you get things back. Then we look at the Light Path. This is the big one here. This is the big one. So Gifts of Light. You heal for 10% more. Fine, why not? Either one are pretty good. You can either have whichever one, it's up to you entirely. As I say again, situational, it's up to you. I personally like the healing. It's a little bit better. And then we go with Warrior's Bastion. So you gain 10% more defense from equipment. You are going to be using a lot of this, as I say, the DPS one in the solo areas. So you healing spells now generate. We don't do anything to do with healing. So you want to take the defense to help your survivability. Then the last one we want to put 5 out of 5 in it is Aura of Gifts. Allies within 30 of you gain 25% of your power. This is very critical, okay? So it then says you must remain within 30 of you for at least 6 seconds to gain this buff. So that is a big thing, right? So this again, as I say, is a build that I don't particularly use in dungeons, but you 100% want Aura of Gifts to make you that viable character in a dungeon. So 25% of the power. This is only off of base power. This is not off of buffed power. So I'm about to explain to you what you can get your power off of. Now let's go on to the character sheet. So in the gear, everything you see on this page counts towards your power share. So absolutely everything in here. That's why we want Radiance in every single power slot and as much power as possible. Then the other thing which comes into account, something that I haven't mentioned yet, is the general, which is the class mechanic, the Oath of the Protection. So your damage resistance is increased by 10%, and you generate 500% more threat. Now this is where the Aura of Gifts kicks in as well. When you take damage, you gain proportional power to the amount of damage you took. So you're gaining power off of how much damage you're about to take. This bonus caps at 10% of your max HP in power. So if we go over to my character sheet and have a look at my stats, I'm at 194,000 power, okay? So let's just take it as 194,000 at the minute, as it's fluctuating. If I take 15% damage, it will take a 10% cap of that, so it will give me 19,500 power, and that goes towards Aura of Gifts. That's nearly 20,000 it can play with. That is amazing. So a quarter of that, 5,000 power of that is going to my allies just off of being damaged. That is insane. It is personally one of the biggest feats and one of the biggest hitchups that you can have, the link ups you can have in the game. It's brilliant. So again, as I say, you can gain this off yourself. It's a bigger thing for me in the buff build. But as I say, with the power share, you can have, I've got 1,000 power in this one, I've got 1,000 power here, I've got another 1,000 power there, and another 1,000 power there. So that's 4,000 power off of the artifacts alone. And then again, as I say, that is a total of 1,000 power going to my allies. It's brilliant. It is a wondrous feat, and it has to be in every build, in my opinion. Then we go over to the boons. So this is the next thing we want to talk about. If you have a guild which is strong enough with a lot of offensive, defensive classes and everything like that on the slot tiers, then what you want to go for is power. So this increase your power by 8,000. There are other ones that are okay, but to be honest, the power is brilliant. As I say, because this is pure DPS, we're going to be using that a lot. Arm pen is another good one. People have been talking about this for the DPS builds. Possibly, I personally like the power, but if you really are struggling for that armor pen and getting the cap up, then possibly you could go for it. It is entirely up to you. Then the defense side of it, I have gone with those hit points, because again, those hit points are going to stack to power, so that helps you out as well. Utility, I've gone for XP. PvP is just one over here, which is the stamina drain. That's not a big thing. Utility is not a big thing either, but XP is very nice to have. If you can get that level cap up quicker, you can get some very tasty rewards out of it at the end. Now, the PvP campaign, we're not so much concentrating on that, but out of them, I've gone for the power and critical strike. Again, the power, very, very nice for us. Critical strike, again, very nice for the DPS side of it. Then the campaign of Sharandar, we've gone for everything across this line. We've gone for 400 power, 400 critical strike, 3% action gain points. When you hit a foe, you have a chance to deal up to 20,000 arcane damage. Brilliant DPS. And Elvish Fury. When you kill a foe, you gain 135 power for 45 seconds. That 135 is not right. So apparently someone did some working out. It's more like 20 to 25 power per enemy you kill, because it stacks up to 30 times. Someone did some working out on that. But as I say, still have it. It's the best one for the DPS. Increase in power. Why not? Then we move on to the Dread Ring, and we have gone with 250 power, 250 movement, 400 lifesteal. Then we've gone with 3% resistance ignored. So this is the armor pen side. Then we've gone with dealing damage. You have a chance to deal up to 20,000 necrotic damage over a few seconds. Oh, excuse me. After this effect ends, the target receives 25% less healing from spells for 10 seconds. Brilliant. Why not? Let them deal... you do a lot of damage, and then they can't do as much healing to themselves as possible. Then we go with Rampaging Madness. When you deal damage, you gain a stack of Madness. When you reach 50 stacks of Madness, you gain 4,000 power, 4,000 lifesteal, and 4,000 regen. So 4,000 power and lifesteal are brilliant. Regen is a little bit of a waste. It's a tiny bit of a waste. It's okay. Regen kicks in of the outside combat. There is a little bit of health regen inside of combat, tiny bit with it from to do with incoming healing, but it's not the best. But we're after the power and lifesteal. It's brilliant for DPS. 100% go for it. Icewind Dale, we have gone with 400 combat advantage. We've gone with 400 incoming healing. Then we go with 2% critical severity. And then you gain 2,000 power based on how much stamina or guard gain you are missing. And then we go with Winter's Bounty. Chance to gain bonus 10% action points when killing a target. Brilliant. Why not? Again, get that Divine Judgment out as quick as possible. Then for the Underdark, we've gone for 400 power, 1,600 maximum hit points, 400 crit, 1,600 maximum hit points, 10% combat advantage bonus, 5% control effects resist. Again, this one and the stamina recharge, it's up to you. Again, situational. I go with the control effects because I hate being put down. And to be quite honest, for a paladin, survivability is about being able to move around. So if you're knocked on your ass all the time, you're pretty much going to die. So this one we go with 10% damage against demons. Why not? DPS build, gotta take it. Tyranny of the Dragons, we've gone with 400 power, 400 crit strike, 400 armor pen, 400 lifesteal, and then we've gone with a 10% increased healing. Why not? It's a very nice big boost. Then we go with 5% increased critical severity, and for the last one I probably would go with the lifesteal one, or possibly go for the critical severity again, because critical strike is very obviously is part of the DPS side of it, but you're not getting a very big boost from the lifesteal, and we haven't got a lot in lifesteal anyway, so crit severity is probably the best one to go for. Then for the Maze Engine, we've gone for 400 incoming healing, because the other one is lifesteal severity. As I say, we don't have a lot of lifesteal. Then we go with 400 combat advantage, 3% action point gain faster, and then we have Behemoth's Might. When striking a foe, you have a chance to gain 2000 critical strike bonus for 6 seconds. Very nice bonus, why not? Elemental Evil, we've gone for 300 power, 2000 max hit points, 400 regen, maximum hit points, because it's 4% lifesteal severity. Again, not a lot of lifesteal, Then we go with 400 crit strike and maximum hit points, and then the bottom we go with Gale of Retribution. When taking damage, you have a chance to heal up to 24,000 hit points over a few seconds. After this effect ends, critical strike is increased by 1,000 for 10 seconds. Brilliant. Again, DPS crit strike, why not? Storm King's Thunder. Right, so we have 2% control resist and 1,000 maximum hit points, because the other one is lifesteal severity. 400 incoming healing bonus and 2% Everfrost resist over the 400 guard gain. And then we have a chance when taking damage to gain up to 2,000 bonus damage on your next attack. Why not? Get hit and then you can hit harder back. Nice, like a counter. When you kill a foe, you have a chance to deal up to 2,000 fire damage to all nearby enemies. You also gain 2% Everfrost damage resist. And then we've gone with Chill of Winter. When striking a foe, you have a chance to gain a stack of Icy Chill. At 10 stacks, your next attack clears all stacks, releasing a burst that deals up to 10,000 damage to targets close to you. So I've gone with Chill of Winter. I probably would go with 3 points into that one, but I'm trying to have a look, trying to remember the rest of them. I probably could go with 1 point in the deflect because I have got the Shadowclad myself, but most DPS classes are going to go with this one for the extra 14,000 damage in there. Then we're closing in on the very end now. So the campaign, the Cloaked Ascendancy, I've gone with when you kill an enemy, you have a chance to emit an Aura of Hope that boosts AP gain for all allies within 25 feet for 10 seconds. Brilliant. Gain everybody else's AP. Wonders. Makes wonders for the buffs. And then we went with 2% critical strike severity, 1,000 hit points, and then we went for 500 recovery over the life steal. Then the final one, I went with Arborant Power. When damaged by a foe, gain a stack of Arborant Power, or chance to gain. At 10 stacks, taking damage will clear the stacks and deal up to 10,000 damage to nearby targets. Arborant creatures take double damage. So that works wonders in MSP and other places like that as well. Then we're looking at the Jungles of Chult. So this is, of course, the newest campaign. I have not quite finished this yet, but we're going to have a look at what we want. So I've gone with gain 750 power and 1,200 hit points. I'm going to put the final point in there to gain me that 1,000 power and 1,600 hit points. The rest of the stuff isn't that great for our build, especially this one. You gain 15% increased damage versus dinosaurs. It pretty much is only working in Chult right now, so it's kind of useless if I'm all honest, and a few tiny areas in Tomb of the Nine Gods, as well as this one, increased defense against dinosaurs. No way. It's only one mod that's helping you out on there. The rest of it you don't want. Then you have Deflect, defense, and regeneration. So these are very much defensive stances. So everybody DPS wise is going to go for the power to help themselves out. Now the final one is where I looked at. So you can either, depending on how you read this, I think they need to change. I need to clarify the tooltips on these. Either Soul Siphon or Lingering Curse. They are pretty much the ones that you want. Either Lingering Curse or Soul Siphon. I've been looking at them. It says chance on hit to gain a stack of Soul Siphon. And then it says chance on hit to apply Lingering Curse to the target. So it's entirely up to you. They pretty much do relatively the same thing, damaging everyone. I think Lingering Curse is the one that most people are going to pick. So I probably will go for it, especially as it is a DPS build. So yeah, 100. Now I'm looking at it and I've read it properly. Soul Siphon is taking damage. Lingering Curse is applying damage or doing damage. So you definitely want to go with Lingering Curse when you get to that final boon. Now we move into the companions and what I have. So I have the Mr. Harper Bard. This is the best companion on my opinion, best companion for the Oathbound Paladin. You can go ahead, get yourself an Assassin Drake. You can get yourself a Con Artist if you are able to. Upgrade him to Legendary, something like that, or get close to Epic. Try and get something that is very good with debuffs, or the I can't remember that, Priestess Moonbow, that's the one, Priestess Moonbow, get her. She's very nice, increases critical chance for your allies and groups as well as yourself. So these are brilliant companions to get. The Harper Bard himself is insane with the active bonuses that he gives me. The powers that he gives. The Harper Bard plays a soothing refrain which increases the critical strike and power of players or allies above 50% health, and allies who are below 50% health have their defense and deflect increased. So again, it's slightly situational depending on how your attack and defense is going. If you're dying a lot, he'll start and help you. If you're winning a lot, he'll really help you to do some extra damage. Then we go with Discordant Discourage, which is another companion attack. The Bard plays a Discord note that reduces the amount of damage that target deals. Those who are below 50% health also have their damage resistance reduced. Again, increasing the amount of damage we do to them, which is brilliant. And then the Expert Leader. Then we have Master Leader, which of course increases the health and power recovery of the companion himself. And then we have the Song of Rest. A soothing song increases the owner's maximum hit points by 10%. Again, getting those hit points up really increases our power in the group. Then I want to change the neck that I have on him because it's only a +3, and I've got the Bold Necklace with Offensive Darks on there. I want to try and get that up to a +4. I haven't managed to find one in Illusionist Gambit yet, but we have managed to get our Greater Isaurian Ring of Hellrig, which gives power and recovery, and we have 2 Dark Enchantment Radiance, Dark Enchantment rank 11s in there, which is very nice. Again, for the DPS build, the Armor Pen and the Critical Strike is very, very good for our companion. Get that Armor Pen and crit from a companion, why not? The Heroic Belt of the Companion gives us power and armor pen, and I put in there a rank 12 Azure and a Dark 11. So again, try and get as much critical strike and armor pen as you can from your companion, because you really want those radiants in on your character sheet to give you the most out of the aura of gifts possible. Then another companion that I have, which I don't often swap these out purely because of the build that I use the majority of the time, but I do have the I can't remember his name now. I hate how it changes the names and then never keeps the original name as like a side note. Anyway, so I've got my energy blob, the orb which you get out of, I think it's the Energon that you get out of the not Dread Ring, the Skirmish from the Dread Ring, and he gives increased maximum hit points, again, extra power. Then we have an Archon. You can have any Archon you want. I have just the Earth Archon. Increases your damage against targets by 6% when you are at full health. So when we're running dungeons, we have Templar's Wrath, and pretty much all the time we're at full health. So an extra 6% damage is going to help us out quite nicely. And then the final companion, I'm going to say definitely get is the Augment, which is the Owlbear Cub. So if you fail to critically hit, do an additional hit for damage equal to 50% of your power. This is brilliant. No-brainer in my opinion. Absolutely no-brainer. You've got to have it. That extra 50% of the power that you've got right now is huge. Is huge. You've got to have it. The only one I would say for the DPS build swap out is my Rust Monster, which is a 25% chance to inflict a 5% damage debuff on the attacker. So this helps your survivability, but in my my idle companions, I've got a Fire Archon, which I could put in there. I have a Young Yeti, which I could also swap in there as well. So try and get some other companion which helps out a lot. I could put the Fire Archon in there for the Rust Monster, because then I get an extra 0.5 damage increase on both of the Earth Archon and the Fire Archon. So they would be brilliant. They would be really, really nice. Then we look at mounts. So this is a big thing that people miss a lot of the time as well. So I have the Leopard of the Chult. So the Shepherd's Devotion. I'm going to have a look in detail. I'm going to read very quickly what they are on the left-hand side where it says the title. And you can read the stats on the right-hand side as well. So Shepherd's Devotion, when you use a daily power, receive a buff. So this helps with the group as well. And also yourself, which is quite nice. Then we have Artificer's Persuasion, which when you use an artifact, receive a buff as well. Again, once you're in a dungeon, this is brilliant. And then we have Assassin's Covenant. So decreases defense, deflection, and lifesteal to then increase your power. Why not? You've got to have that as a DPS build. You really, really have to have that. And then we've gone for Protector's Camaraderie. Whenever you summon a companion, your summoned companion attacks, you gain 3% of your power and defense for 3 seconds. So this is a very, very nice attack. My Harper Bard attacks very, very often, and it can stack up to 4 times. So we're getting 12% of your power in defense for 10 seconds. That is brilliant. Really, really nice one to have. The only one out of them all, which is the very, very bottom one, Wanderer's Fortune, which is probably the only one which I would ever think about swapping out, which gives you a 4% chance of killing a foe to find a refining stone at your feet. So this works very much the same as a Dragon Horde's enchant, but luckily they are 2 separate things. So you have your percentage chance from Dragon Hordes, and then you have your percentage chance from Wanderer's Fortune. So you can actually find, if they both hit, you can get 2 refining stones at the same time off of these. So Wanderer's Fortune can proc, and your Dragon Hordes can proc, and you can get a Peridot or a Flawless Sapphire at the same time, or a Black Opal and an Aquamarine at the same time. Things like that happen very, very nicely. These 4, I would say you have to get. In my personal opinion, I would say these 4 you have to get because they are very, very nice in every situation that you have. But the Wanderer's Fortune you could swap out for something else more to your liking. And then we're going to have a quick look at the rest of the stats while we're just thinking of everything. The Constitution, you want to try and get a good roll on it because hit points, as I say, does help in groups, but it's not necessarily a big thing. I like to use the the DPS build in some areas. I find that if I'm doing Illusionist Gambit, I can DPS quite well in there as well, which helps out. Now we're going to have a look at actual damage wise and some of the stats that I use when I'm attacking. Okay, so this is the powers that I use at the minute. And we're going to start attacking these. We're going to look at everything. So we're going to look at recovery. So you can see my Relentless Avenger took probably 8 seconds to recover. And I used my Divine Call and they're back pretty much. Burning Light, I'll show you how quick that is. 12 seconds, goes down to 6. It is so nice to see how quick it is. And we're really stacking up the hits on this dummy over here as well. We're doing very, very nicely, I have to say. This lightning enchant is proccing on every single one of them. I don't know how far it can chain. I can't remember how far it chains up to. Wow, you can get 4 enemies away. That's unbelievable. I think that's the last enemy. I think it chains up to 3 times. So it does a really, really nice amount of damage. And you'll see my Divine Judgment hit now for 230,000. That's not even crit. That is not even crit. We're going to try our best to try and get it. We get the Eye of Giant as well, which will pop. Sacred Weapon is a very nice one. If you really want to start stacking up your DPS, what you want to do is use your Sacred Weapon, then Divine Judgment straight after. Gives you 316,000 damage. And then we're going to look at my stats. I'm around 86,000 power, 13,000 crit, 12,000 armor pen. So I'm going to try and fight, because as soon as you stop fighting these dummies, you actually come out of combat, which drops your power down very, very quickly. So I'm going to try my best to try and get everything at the same time. Can we look? Where is it? Oh, we just came out, I think. I'm going to try once more and see if we can get our power a little bit higher. See if we can. Stack it up, come on. There we go. So we're about 90,000 power. As I say, 90,000, 88,000 power. Very nice. And the thing with the Harper Bard is, which I really like, is that if you actually walk away, sometimes he still attacks. So when you're even further away, even when you're like down here, he can sometimes still proc. And as I say, on your mount, even when you're around here, he's still procking on me, even away. So I'm at 50,000 power right now. So it's, as I say, it's still an increase on what we did have. And we got about 15,000 defense, 13,000 crit, 12,500. So this is why I really, really love the Harper Bard companion. Anyway, guys, if you've enjoyed this video, I'm sorry it's a longer one, but I haven't really done a DPS build at all. I did one a long while ago, but I thought I might as well do a fresh start for you guys. As I say, thank you all so much for watching. If you've really enjoyed this build and want to see more of it, smash that like button. Subscribe for the channel for more stuff just like this. And straight after this, I'm going to be having some gameplay of the Paladin in action. Please smash that like button. And as always, guys, I will see you next time.
Into the heat of the night, yeah, alright, do it again. You should have seen it come, you acted numb, don't deny. You are like a moth to the flame. To the flame.
My secrets remain safe at the heart of this school. Try to reach them, and I will ensure you a